How are we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here. Welcome back to another video. So let's take a little bit of a look at engineering today. I've been holding off looking at engineering until they fixed a few things that were very broken in the previous builds, but now I think it's about time to take a little bit of a look at engineering. This is still a first look. This is still the beta. Please be aware if you're watching this video in the future that things may very much have changed, but this is just my first impressions going over engineering. Firstly, it actually looks quite cool. I can't deny it actually really does look quite cool. Engineering is still very much focused on its sort of utility aspect. It's still going to be one of those professions where if you want to make your own bombs and have little tinkers and that sort of stuff going on, it is definitely the profession for you. Its utility is still very strong. Is that going to translate into like a good profession for making any gold with? Well, time will tell, but it is looking quite smart. We are going to be responsible for the usual sorts of things. Let's quickly run through some of the sort of key items we're going to be crafting. We make goggles. Again, this is pretty much a staple for engineers. We're going to be making the goggles for the different classes, and those goggles you can put your tinkers in. Once again, anybody that's played with engineering will be familiar with this. We are responsible for making a bunch of profession equipment. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. We make a handful of embellishments for different classes. Nothing that really screams home to me as like super duper mega overpowered. But of course, I'm not the best person to be asking the questions about like sort of end game sim in maxi sort of gear builds. The fact that we make some is cool. Geared for combat, you can see here we are going to make our braces again. Braces and goggles are the main two culprits if you're going to go down the gear crafting route. Of course, work orders will come into play pretty quickly if you're doing that sort of stuff. I mentioned that we make quite a lot of the profession gear for others. We, as engineers, are going to be responsible. We're going to take in many work orders, I imagine, in the first few weeks of the new expansion. As we make some, we make the fishing rod for fishing, which theoretically everybody could and should want one of these, which is quite powerful. As engineers, we are also quite lucky that there's the opportunity for us to make 2 out of our 3 profession gear ourselves as well. So it's, you know, maybe focusing on the profession gear in the early days is also not a terrible idea. Let's talk about these potion bombs just for a second. These are a new thing that's been added to engineering, and I guess time will tell how well these are taken by the community. These are potions in essence, but they're potion bombs. Throw a potion bomb which splashes up to 5 allies caught in the blast with a potion that increases their primary stat for 800 by 800 for 30 seconds. My brain instantly thinks Mythic Plus groups here. Are they going to use these if you have an engineer in your Mythic Plus team? Are you going to use these for like pre-potting before you kill bosses or something at high keys? I don't know. I don't do enough high-end Mythic Plus to really decide whether these will be used. But I think the design concept is quite cool. Time will tell how those are taken. We make a bunch of, you know, utility sort of stuff. We make our jumper cables again. We make the wormhole generator again. All the sort of usual suspects here are back again with engineering. It's quite a sort of flavorful utility-esque profession. Leveling this is going to be something that I want to sort of highlight as one of the main changes for the War Within. They dabbled, they played with this a little bit in Dragonflight, but they didn't go too deep with it. This time they've basically made the entire system a discovery system. Let's give you a quick run through of how this discovery system is going to operate. If you've played with alchemy previously, you'll probably be somewhat aware of how this works either way. But we start off by taking this pile of rusted scrap. As engineers, you're going to stumble across this as you level through and play through Khazar-Gar. You'll find this multiple places. It should be noted that this is soul-bound, but not to worry if you are a crafter that prefers to just stand around in the city doing your tinkering and crafting. You can somewhat manufacture rusted scrap. We'll talk about that in a second, though. But the concept is you take your rusted scrap, and this is like your discovery system. You can scour through this, and in doing so, you'll more often than not come across just some basic crafting components. some occasional grey items. From time to time, I'm hoping it's going to happen relatively quickly for this video, from time to time you will proc a prototype. And it's your prototypes where you get the chance to learn something. This is your opportunity to try and learn something new. You can only have one sort of exposed prototype at any one point. You may notice these unrecognizable ones are proccing here now. You can only have one. And the way you learn the new recipes is you just quite simply try and use it. So we actually got the potion bomb of recovery. We try and use this, throw this on the floor. Haha, fantastic. It actually worked, meaning that we learned the recipe. Prototypes can fail. They can go boom. Let's see if we can make one go boom real quickly. Let's discover a new one. Prototype, bomb of power. Haha, we're not going to be able to use that. That's on cooldown. This is good time to showcase then what you can do. If you don't want to learn it, you can actually disassemble them. You can break them down and you can say, no, I don't want this. Break it down and it will actually refund you some scrap. Meaning there is kind of a little bit of a recycling system going on here, which I quite like as well. Plus it gives you these hastily scored notes. These are a more deterministic way of acquiring recipes. When you get 15 of these, you can turn them into a comprehensively organized idea. These are quite cool. If we use one of these, you can see you get a little window pops up and you quite simply just get to choose a new recipe. I like this. It's deterministic in a way that it's almost sort of bad luck protection, I suppose. If you're fishing for a prototype and you don't get the one that you want, you can eventually sort of pick something, and so you know what, I'll have this one this time around. Great, now we've learned something new. And of course you can continue to repeat the process ultimately until you've learned everything. There is an invent which is on a big old cooldown. It uses significantly more scrap, but this is borderline guaranteed to give you a recipe straight away. If you are not getting your way with RNG when it comes to creating scrap, you do have another option here. So that's quite cool. The discovery system works really quite well. It's quite well thought out. It seems to work reasonably well. I did mention earlier about actually generating these piles of rusted scraps, because I know some people are going to be very worried that these are bind on pickup and it's not something that they can just buy. Pilfering through parts is going to be a very useful little tool for you as an engineer as well. You might have spotted that we were getting some basic crafting materials, some basic parts. By doing our scrap system, we can then throw them back in, break them down again, pilfer them down, and for every 5 parts that we pilfer down, we get a piece of scrap out of it. So there is a bit of a way to theoretically mass produce the scrap if you want to. My early suspicions is that we take some bismuth, one of the new pieces of ore, we craft ourselves a whole bunch of bismuth bolts. We have no care to make these at top quality by the looks of things. Any old quality will do, and then we're just going to pilfer them to get our scrap. I, through early testing, have gone through about 500 scrap, just having a little bit of a play, a little bit of a tinker, and I've unlocked a few things. I do think it's quite tightly tuned right now when it comes to actually leveling it. You may have started to see a few people out there saying that, oh look, the professions are much quicker and easier to level. Not engineering yet. Engineering might actually be quite a slog if it stays in its current form, but I like the way that they're doing it. The final thing I want to talk about for engineering though is, where's he gone? Crowd Pummeler 230. There's a new crafted mount. Everybody loves a crafted mount. A new crafted mount. He looks really cool. It's this dude. You might have seen him in some thumbnails on some other YouTube videos, or you might have seen him highlighted. I think Wowhead did a post on him when he was data mined. There's a new crafted mount, and everybody loves a crafted mount. This is also going to use, we suspect, it's going to take a little bit of testing for this, but it is going to use this earlier pilfer system to try and generate these components. I feel, now this could just be early developmental, but I feel that we are going to take these parts and we're going to pilfer them. The better quality ones of these we pilfer, the higher chance we're going to have to proc these Crowd Pummeler mount reagents. These as well, boys and girls, I would also like to point out at this point, are actually, these are not bound in any way, shape or form. So you can, in theory, throw these up on the auction house as well. My goblin brain is going off in all directions just looking at this right now. This was literally implemented in yesterday's build, so there's probably still work to be done here and some testing to be done. But a new crafted mount, a new crafted skyriding mount, always big business around engineering if they make a mount. But what things like the sky golems did in the past, they've had multitude of different crafted mounts, and they've all made people lots and lots of gold, and I don't think Dragonflight's going to be any different. To round this video off then very quickly, because I don't want these videos to be too long, these are meant to just be first looks. The spec trees are small, actually, believe it or not, for engineering. There's only 3 spec trees, and I think it's less than 500 points to fill all of them. Your first tree is your engineered equipment. This is if you're going the work order route and you want to be making those... You want to be making those goggles, you want to be making those braces, you want to be making the gun, you want to be making some of the profession gear for other people, you want to be filling work orders. This is the tree for you. Nothing really too fancy goes on here, in all honesty. The devices tree is quite a small tree, just 3 little nodes in this, and this is more your utility tree for those who actually use engineering for its utility. This is probably where you might want to put some points to make your explosives and your bombs a little bit more useful, plus the creation of the tinkers. You can spec into here as well. The inventing tree, being the third and the final tree, is your more generic tree. Your top nodes here are predominantly going to offer you some ingenuity, some flat skill, and some resourcefulness bonuses for whatever you're crafting. So this is going to be quite a useful few nodes in this tree for practically any way that you play with engineering. This is the interesting one, the parts. Once you spec into parts, you may notice that the tooltip on this says, when you pilfer through parts, you have the chance to recover the components used to craft the Crowd Pummeler 230. You are going to have to unlock the ability to play mount crafting, but if you choose to go this direction, this could be quite a lucrative one. But there we go, boys and girls. That's my little first initial overview of engineering. There's still some work to be done. There's still some fine-tuning to be done. I think they need to make the leveling process a little bit more manageable. I like the inventions. I like the discovery system for you finding your prototypes, and I think it's quite eloquently done. Meaning if you keep getting trash you don't want, there's at least a way to recycle it to get some of your materials back, which is quite nice. But for the most part, engineers are doing what engineers do best. They're going to make utility-based things. They make a few toys here, there, and everywhere. You make a bunch of profession equipment. And overall, if people need some of your stuff, there's going to be some gold-making opportunity there as well. So, boys and girls, give this video a like if you enjoy these. I will get to the remaining few professions in the next few days and weeks. Tailoring and inscription are currently completely busted on the beta, so I can't even try those in any more detail than I've already done, so you might have to wait a little while for those, but I might try and get blacksmithing out later on this week as well. Have a great day, boys and girls. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time. Peace.